Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Business Standing Committee meeting of April the 1st, 2026. We'll start this evening with the Land Acknowledgement of Traditional Territory, and that will be read by Superintendent Playford, please.
The Simcoe County District School Board acknowledges that we are situated on the traditional land of the Anishinaabe people. The Anishinaabe include the Ojibwe, Odawa, and Potawatomi nations, collectively known as the Three Fires Confederacy. We are dedicated to honoring Indigenous history and culture and committed to moving forward in the spirit of reconciliation and respect with all First Nation, Métis, and Inuit people.
Thank you. I'm going to now ask you to rise for the national anthem if you're able. The instrumental version of the national anthem is courtesy of Innisdale Secondary School. I would now ask Superintendent Playford to read our statement of respect.
The Simcoe County District School Board is committed to creating a culture of belonging, engagement, and success for all through deliberate actions and an intentional focus in the area of diversity, equity, and inclusion. The Simcoe County District School Board of Trustees will conduct meetings in an inclusive, respectful manner that upholds the principles of respect for human rights and allows all members, staff, and guests to participate fully, regardless of race, religion, ethnicity, age, ability, and gender.
Thank you. We'll now do the roll call. We have no electronic participation this evening. We have regrets from Trustee Foley, Trustee Talbot, Trustee Wilson, and Student Trustee Carvalho. So with that, it takes us to the approval of the agenda. Is someone who'd like to move the agenda for this evening? Thank you, Trustee Powell, seconded by Trustee Grummett. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? And that carries. Thank you. Are there any declaration of conflict of interest for this evening? Okay, seeing none, we have no presentations and delegations, so it takes us into the items for decision. The first is a staff report, BSC D1A 2026-2027 accommodation plan, and that will be Superintendent Van Nispen, please.
Thank you. And with the Chair's permission, I'd like to invite Assistant Manager Klee to the table to join me.
Please join us.
Thank you. And before you, through the Chair to the table, before you tonight is the 2026-27 accommodation plan. I would like to start by thanking all contributing staff, but in particular, Assistant Manager Klee, Senior Manager Kukin, and Senior Manager Whalen and their teams for their ongoing work on maintaining and updating our accommodation plan and moving forward our identified projects to shovel ready, and in a number of cases now, construction towards doors open for learning. Before getting to the accommodation plan, the highlights from it, we would like to provide an update on the status of our currently approved capital priority projects. So we have the new Aurelia Elementary. The tender has been awarded and contractor is currently mobilizing to start construction. Shandy Bay replacement. The school has been, the existing school has been demolished, and constructing the new has commenced. We have the Killarney Beach Public School Addition. We are still working through municipal site plan approval with the ministry on and the ministry on further approvals. We have the new Alcona Elementary School. We are finishing site plan application process, and the project is out for tender. Excuse me. The new Hewitts or Dean Avenue Elementary School. The school is under construction. New Angus Elementary School. School is under construction. Nantyre Shore Secondary School addition. The addition is under construction, is set to open semester 2 of the next school year. The new Hewitts 2 or Thicketwood Elementary School. Site plan has been approved, and we will be going to tender in the coming months with the intent of starting construction this fall. We have the new Wasaga Beach Secondary School. We are very close to site plan approval, and will tender in the coming months. We have the Banting Secondary School replacement, and we're continuing on site due diligence and finalizing the land swap agreement with the town and the ministry. The selected architect has commenced design, and staff continue to discuss possible partnership opportunities. The Emma King addition, tender has closed and construction will be beginning this spring. And lastly, the new Tottenham Elementary School. Site plan has been approved and the project is out to tender. So lots of activity going on in the construction end of things. So now on to the accommodation plan. While there's been a noticeable slowdown in new home sales and building permits, there continues to be significant accommodation pressures in Simcoe County, with future growth projected. By the fall of 2026, elementary utilization will exceed 110%, and secondary expected to reach 102%. This translates to more than 4,000 students over the built capacity by this time next year. This is the major driver behind some of the board's most pressing needs. The accommodation plan provides a framework for school facilities and their use, and focuses on the board's immediate and urgent accommodation needs. It also provides the basis for the submission of capital priorities to the Ministry of Education. I'd like to point out that the information, data, and ongoing analysis that is utilized to support our planning includes, but is not limited to, historical enrollment data and long-term projections, the tracking of all new residential developments, demographic trends, provincial and municipal planning policy and legislation, and facility condition, renewal needs, and program information. Proposed projects for consideration in this plan. One of the most significant components of the plan is the identification of the most urgent and critical capital accommodation needs and proposed strategies to address these. Beyond our most recent project approvals, the 2026-2027 accommodation plan also continues to assess additional needs based on a combination of the ministry requirements of being shovel-ready and urgent short and medium-term needs. Staff's recommended projects in this accommodation plan are: in the elementary panel, we have the Baxter Central Public School Addition, the Coldwater Public School Addition, Huronia Centennial Elementary School Addition, New Tecumseh Elementary School, New Salem Elementary School, New Stainer Elementary School, Nottawa Elementary School Addition, Warnica Public School Replacement Growth School, and the Wasaga Beach Public School Addition. For secondary, we've identified the Collingwood CCI Replacement School and a new Bradford Secondary School. Different from last year's plan is the addition of the New Salem School in lieu of an Ardagh Bluffs Public School addition. And this is due to project readiness and the advancement of the area's development. As well, we've added the proposed Wasaga Beach Public School addition. As in the past, when the Ministry of Education releases a call for submissions, staff will bring a report to trustees for consideration with prioritized projects based on the needs and project readiness. Recommended planning reviews. In addition to capital projects, the accommodation plan also proposes planning reviews, such as attendance area and program reviews, to help balance enrollment, create new attendance areas, and address accommodation pressures. Many of these reviews are required to create attendance areas for approved new schools that are slated to open in the near future. Reviews already completed in progress or already approved to commence relate to the new Aurelia Elementary School, the new Angus Elementary School, the new Barry Dean Avenue Elementary School, the new Alcona Elementary School, the new Barry Hewitts Elementary School, the new Wasaga Beach Secondary School, as well as a review in Collingwood's group of elementary schools to balance the enrollment in that community. Staff are adding a recommendation this year for an attendance area review for the elementary group of schools, including Agila Central Public School, Tech Beaton Elementary School, Tech South Central Public School, and Tottenham Public School, in order to set the boundary for the newly approved Tottenham School. Due to the number of reviews required, which is a significant undertaking for those that have attended, staff have undertaken a staggered approach in this implementation of the reviews, with a number expected to be finished by June of this year. The other previously approved reviews will be required to be completed by March of 2027 in order to comply with policy and align with opening dates of the new schools. The proposed Tottenham review is expected to be completed in the 27-28 school year. There are also some other areas of the plan to point out. In some cases, contingency plans are needed to address the most critical of facility condition or accommodation needs. And you'll find this on page 22 of the report. Contingency plans are in place for Banting Memorial High School due to facility condition, Collingwood CCI due to facility condition, and the Angus group of elementary and secondary schools due to critical site limitations. Due to the previously mentioned growth, students generated from new subdivisions may not be able to be accommodated within their local schools. So holding schools are developed. Students in these areas may be directed to other schools in the community. These areas can be found in the plan in the board's online application. The board also routinely closes schools to out-of-area attendance for a variety of reasons. This could be due to overutilization, holding, septic capacity, or program reasons. Except for 19 elementary schools, all are closed to out-of-area attendance requests unless there is extenuating circumstances. All secondary schools, with the exception of Aurelia Secondary, remain open to consideration for out-of-attendance area requests. The board has many examples of facility partnerships that have been entered into or are in development. These partnerships have been proven to help with operating costs, improve services, and supports for students. It is essential that the board begin seeking partnership opportunities early in the planning process. The board continues to seek partnerships in future projects where viable. In conclusion, the Accommodation Plan 26-27 provides recommendations, information, and initiatives referencing pressure points to help guide accommodation decisions, supporting current and future students of the Simcoe County District School Board. And with that, we'll take any questions.
Thank you very much for the comprehensive report. Are there questions or comments from trustees at this time? Yep, Chair Rafik.
Thank you very much, and through the chair. Yes, thank you very much for the report. I always love reading through this one. I don't know why, but it's very exciting to me. So I have just a couple of questions. The number of requests, I realize they're not in priority order yet. If I'm remembering correctly, the last couple of times we've gotten a call from call for capital from the ministry. They've not given a number. Is that correct? Like it used to be here, give us 10, give us 12, and then it hasn't been that way in the last couple. Okay, so I see there's 11 on there. Does that mean that that's what you have? You have 11? Like if they came back and said, hey, we want 12, do you have more that you could put on there, or?
Superintendent Van please.
Thank you, and through the chair to Trustee Rafik. So yes, you are correct. The last number of times there hasn't been a set number of projects. As you will recall, the ministry is looking at these projects with a shovel-ready eye. So they're looking for projects that we have advanced to that point where when we get an approved project or receive funds, we are in that position that we can go to tender and start construction within a reasonable time frame. The ministry wants to see the dollars that are being provided for these projects utilized within a timely manner. So at this point in time, if the ministry didn't provide any additional criteria around their ask and continued with what we've seen the last couple of rounds, we would formulate our list from those that have been presented here.
Follow-up?
Thank you very much. Through the chair. Yes, just one other question, and it's kind of specific, so you might not have an answer, but I was just looking at the contingency plan for Angus. I thought that we had removed some portables from Angus Morrison, so there was still room for portables there, but maybe I'm totally wrong there. So we have no more room for portables at Pine River or Angus Morrison? Like I said, I know that one's pretty specific, so you might not.
Superintendent Van Nispen, please.
Thank you, through the chair, to Trustee Rafik. So we have the availability to put one additional portable onto Angus Morrison, and we do not have space for any more at Pine River. So we are in the midst of construction of the new elementary school in Angus. So barring any hiccups, we should be fine, but we do have the contingency plan in place.
Thank you. Any further questions? Trustee Armstrong.
Thank you. Through you to Superintendent Van Nispen. I know in previous years the cost of the square foot cost is different in secondary, it's different in elementary, but the fact that the funding is not necessarily matched with the true increased prices that have continued to keep coming up and rising and rising. So one of the things, we've had lately from delegations about new schools, we want heat pumps. We want a lean, I guess they used to be called lean projects. We want green projects. We want flat roofs with lawns on top or whatever. But I don't believe that, any of that is even considered as far as ministry funding. And I know you're not talking about square foot cost in the report, but I'm just saying, is that realistic going forward to try to put in these, I guess, more not competitive, more eco-green things? But the fact is, I just think heat pumps in Canada and in industrial or commercial buildings must be atrociously expensive compared to the normal boiler or natural gas heating and things like that. Triple glazed glass, every gym should be half the wall, all the walls should be glass to be natural light, like including natural light. I just think the reality is none of those extras are taken into consideration with a square foot price that we're going to receive or have received in the past. So just to comment on those more highly level technological advances we really can't utilize in the buildings of what the province is giving you for money for the schools.
Superintendent Van Nispen, please.
Thank you. Through the chair to Trustee Armstrong. So I didn't bring my sheet. I had a great write-up of all the energy efficient items that we are looking at or trying to incorporate. You are correct that there is, when we do get funding for a secondary versus an elementary, there is two different per square footage funding models, recognizing that a secondary school does have those additional learning spaces for tech and art and whatnot. When it comes to the actual building of our schools, it's a balance of wants and needs. There is, as we had a presentation recently here at the board, there are a lot of great and interesting elements that can be incorporated into builds these days. But you are correct, we don't get provided additional funding for those types of items. However, just trying to remember the list of items I had. We do look at things right from the actual tender build process, sourcing of materials. We put criteria in there that materials have to be within an 800-kilometer radius of the build site. So we're trying to limit that transportation piece and keep it Canadian, Ontario sourced. With the actual build itself, we do the triple pane glass. We do the insulated panels to keep the heat in or keep the cold in. When it comes to the roofs, we don't have the funding to do the green roofs. However, we do I believe it's like a white stone composite that goes up there that doesn't hold the heat in, so it helps us with that balancing. Obviously, if you've been into any of our newer builds, lots of light, lots of natural light. So we're utilizing that to reduce our need to use LED lighting that we're incorporating into our build. So we are doing what we can when it comes to the efficiency of the buildings that we're constructing. But it is a balancing act between what we would like to do and what we can do.
Thank you. Just to follow up on that, Superintendent Van Nispen, if my memory is correct, the only school that we got adequate funding to do at Leeds and to incorporate the things that we wanted was at Mundy's Bay. Is that correct? The one and only, and we've never received it since?
To the chair, through the chair, correct. That Mundy's Bay was the last one under a different funding model.
Okay, thank you. Are there any further questions? Okay, I don't see any. There are 4 recommendations contained within the report. First, that the Business Standing Committee recommend that the board approve the Boundary Review 2026-01 elementary identified in the 2026-27 accommodation plan be undertaken, commencing in the 2027-28 school year, as set out in report number BSC D1A 2026-27 accommodation plan dated April the 1st, 2026. Is there a mover for that recommendation? Trustee Grummett, thank you. And a seconder, Trustee Armstrong. Any questions or further comments related to this particular motion? Okay, I don't see any. I'll call the question. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? And that carries. The second recommendation is that the Business Standing Committee recommend that the board approve the schools closed to new out-of-attendance area students for the 2026-27 school year as set out in report number BSC D1A 2026-27 accommodation plan dated April 1st, 2026. Is there a mover for that recommendation? Chair Rafik, please. Seconder. Trustee Powell, thank you. Any further comments or questions related to that specific motion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? And that carries. The third recommendation is that the Business Standing Committee recommend that the board approve the continued pursuit of facility partnership opportunities for capital projects under consideration as set out in report number BSC D1A 2026-27 accommodation plan dated April the 1st, 2026. Is there a mover for that recommendation? Trustee Grummett, thank you. Seconded by Trustee Harrigan. Any questions or comments related to that motion? Okay, I just have one before we move that. I did happen to be at an event recently, and there was someone there from the municipality of Ormondonte, and we're just singing the praises of the partnership we have with them at the new Horseshoe Valley School. So just wanted to share that very positive feedback before we move on. So with that, call the question. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? And that carries. Thank you. Number 4, that the Business Standing Committee recommended the board approve the accommodation plan as set out in Appendix A of report number BSC D1A 2026-27 accommodation plan dated April 1st, 2026. Is there a mover for this recommendation? Chair Rafik, thank you. A seconder? Thank you, Trustee Powell. Any questions or comments on this motion? Okay, seeing none, call the question. All those in favor? Okay, and that carries. And there was only 4 motions, sorry. So that would take us to our next item on the agenda, which is BSC D1B Revisions to Policy 3045 Workplace Violence, and that's Superintendent Van Nispen, please.
Thank you, and through the chair to the table. The policy before you tonight is policy 3045, workplace violence. As per the Occupational Health and Safety Act, section 25(2)J and 32.0.1(c), which states policies such as the violence and harassment, an employer shall review the policies as often as necessary, but at least annually. The Joint Health and Safety Committee has reviewed this policy, and the only update brought forward was to add a link to the health and safety procedure related to domestic violence. And with that, I will take any questions.
Thank you for that. Are there any questions or comments related to this? Okay. Chair Rafik, please.
Thank you very much, and through the chair. We've heard the word violence around this table a lot in the last few years, and so when this policy comes up, I don't know, I guess I kind of expected a big discussion, but I guess my question for you is, could you give us a little more detail on what this policy goes through every year when it comes through? I understand you said it was reviewed by the committee. Could you just maybe give a little more detail on that? Like I said, we've heard this topic around the table a lot, and so I would like to know a little bit further of how this policy kind of comes about and comes to us. Thanks.
Superintendent Van Nispen, please.
Thank you, and through the chair to Trustee Rafik. So there's actually three. From the policy standpoint, there's actually three policies, two other ones coming forward later tonight, that get reviewed annually in relation to health and safety. There's the overarching health and safety, there's this one regarding workplace violence, as well as one in relation to harassment. And so these do go, as do all of our health and safety procedures, do go to the Joint Health and Safety Committee, to all members, for the review, for updates. From a procedure standpoint, we do have sometimes with the Joint Health and Safety Committee subcommittees, where if there's a particular topic, particular item of issue that they feel needs more discussion, more in-depth review, brainstorming, coming up with alternate ways to address things, they will have that as well. But again, all procedures and policies do go through all members of the Joint Health and Safety Committee to get their feedback and recommendations for updates. For this, in the case of this policy here tonight, as indicated, the Joint Health and Safety Committee, the feedback was this allows us to do what we need to do, but there was the link to our domestic violence procedure that was missing. So that's why it's been recommended to tie that in. And again, the procedures are the pieces that allow us to address and support staff through various health and safety items.
Follow-up, Trustee?
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much for that. Not to sound repetitive or make you sound repetitive, but could you just clarify for us then, again, who is on this committee? So our union partners were given the opportunity to look at this plan, ask for their feedback. From what I'm hearing is no additional changes were recommended. Nobody came forward and said, please add this in. There's nothing new there besides that. So like I said, I'm just really trying to wrap my brain around the discussions that we've had around the table, and when I see this and to see no changes, that to me is a good thing. And so I just kind of wrap my brain around how it all happens. Does that make sense?
Superintendent Van Nispen, please.
Thank you, and through the chair to Trustee Rafik. So as a reminder, we operate a multi-site Joint Health and Safety Committee here, and under that we have just one central Joint Health and Safety Committee that covers all of our locations, and it operates under an agreement, a multi-site agreement that was established a number of years ago, it has to be approved by the Ministry of Labor, because the multi-site is a variance from the traditional occupational health and safety. Every site must have a Joint Health and Safety Committee. And so through establishing that agreement, it was signed off by the employer, the Director of Education at the time, as well as the presidents of each of the the bargaining groups, union groups. And that agreement sets out how we will operate and meet or fulfill our obligations under the Occupational Health and Safety Act. And so part of that is outlining the representation on that Joint Health and Safety Committee. So it does have spots for a handful of employer management representation, as well as representation, a member from each one of the union bargaining groups. And so, yes, when it comes to, again, the operation of that Joint Health and Safety Committee, all of this was provided, the review of policies and procedures, it's provided to all members. All feedback is taken, reviewed, and incorporated where feasible. And so, yes, in the case of the policies that are brought forward here tonight, they've all been through all members of the Joint Health and Safety Committee.
Go ahead.
Thank you very much. And through the chair, thank you very much for that. I won't ask you the same questions for the other policies, I promise, but I very much appreciate you putting that into perspective for us in this particular context. So thank you very much.
Okay. Are there any other questions related to this? Okay, I just had one question, and it sort of piggybacked on what Trustee Verbeek was asking, but have we, and we have had a lot of discussion on violence and what constitutes violence, and the Joint Health and Safety Committee is a requirement under the Occupational Health and Safety Act, and Ministry of Labour has oversight for. So have we had any orders issued related to violence or under the Occupational Health and Safety Act to the board?
Thank you, and through the chair to the table. Not in recent years, no, we have not. The Ministry of Labour has, in this current school year, has been called in due to critical injuries. The most common has been slips, trips, and falls. And so they've come in. There's been no orders issued with regards to those. With regards to workplace violence, there has not been any orders issued. And in fact, 3 years ago, there was actually a Ministry of Labour initiative across the province where they went into all school boards and reviewed at a handful of locations the policies and procedures that were in place and how they were being implemented and operationalized in the schools. And we did not have anything of significance that we were directed that we needed to implement.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Any further questions or comments? Trustee Armstrong, please.
I do have a question, but I think it might have to be under closed. I just want a clarification from the chair. It's a question about security. So.
Would you like to move that we go into closed session?
Or we do have a closed session, I believe.
We have an agenda, but there's nothing on that.
Nothing on
but we could go into closed at that time if you'd like to.
And that's, yeah, I'm just thinking, I was thinking about how I would word this, but I do believe because it's about security and about codes, like security codes, I think it would be considered closed session, but I'm happy to wait for the closed session and just maybe under other matters if that's.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Okay. So thank you for that. Any other comments or questions? Trustee Powell, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and through you to Superintendent Van Nispen. Is there ever a time that the Joint Health and Safety Committee would not share information that they receive from their members?
Superintendent Van Nispen?
Sorry, through the chair to Trustee Powell. Sorry, clarification, not share information.
Is there ever a time where there's information collected at that committee that isn't shared with the public, that is confidential?
Through the chair to Trustee Powell. So we are obligated under the Occupational Health and Safety Act to communicate to staff, as the Joint Health and Safety Committee is related to employees of the organization. It is employees for employees. And so all minutes of the Joint Health and Safety Committee meetings are posted on the Joint Health and Safety boards in all of our locations so that all staff can see what has been discussed and what has been presented at all of the meetings.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Seeing nothing further, there is a recommendation that the Business Standing Committee recommend that the board approve revisions to policy 3045, workplace violence, as set out in Appendix B of report number BSC-D-1B, revisions to policy 3045, workplace violence, dated April the 1st, 2026. Is there a mover for that recommendation? Trustee Rafiq, a seconder for that? Trustee Armstrong, call the question. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? And that carries. Thank you. That takes us to the next item on the agenda, which is notice of motion from the previous meeting. And there was a notice of motion from the previous meeting, and I'll read that notice of motion: that staff provide a report outlining the current financial resources allocated to the collection and reporting of violent incident data, including any anticipated resource requirements as the board continues to grow, in order to assist the board in its governance and financial oversight responsibilities, with the report to be presented by June 26th and prepared within existing budget resources. Is there a mover for that? Okay, I don't see a mover.
Was there not a mover last time?
We need a mover and a seconder when it comes to board. It was a notice of motion before, so now we need a mover and a seconder.
I'll move it. It's mine.
Okay, is there a seconder for it? Trustee Grummett, so it's been moved and seconded. So any question, would you like to speak to the motion, Trustee Powell?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair, and through you to the table. This motion is intended to provide clarity regarding the financial resources currently allocated to violent incident data collection. It's a governance-focused request to assist the board in understanding current resources allocated as we carry out our oversight responsibilities as a board. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any further questions or comments related to this motion? Okay, seeing none, it has been moved and seconded, and so I will call the question. All those in favor? All those opposed? Okay, and that is defeated. That takes us to the next item, which is the budget components, and I will turn it over to Superintendent Van Nispen.
Thank you, and through the chair. So we continue through our budget process, and as we have in the past, continue to bring components of the budget forward to trustees, so that when we do get the full budget package brought forward in May, it's not an overwhelming overload of information. So the schedules that we have before you tonight, we'll start with the Schedule 1, which is the debt carrying costs. And this schedule presents the current debt carried by the school board, established in prior years under a older method at the time of funding construction. In-year payment of principal and interest will be $12.8 million next year. This will be down from the current year as the sinking fund is being paid out and retired this June. All debt is recognized and funded by the Ministry of Education. Following that, we have Section 1.1 Debt Carrying Cost Detail. This is a schedule that was previously requested by trustees to be included in the budget package. It presents projects that were funded utilizing the debt currently held by the board. Following that, we have our schedule of capital expenditures. This schedule here, Section 2, it presents funding that is provided to schools for repair, replacement, and upgrade of facilities. In-year capital funding for renewal and school condition improvements are used for parking lots, boilers, roofs, lighting, retrofits, etc. Temporary accommodation funding is used for portables, maintenance and buying of new, and leased spaces such as our Simcoe Shores locations throughout the school board. Presented as well are capital priorities that the ministry has awarded funded for. Went through our status on each of those earlier tonight. Following this schedule, Section 2A, we have some more detail behind the projects that we're going to be utilizing, or we're going to be performing utilizing the school renewal and school condition improvement funds. Just quickly running through the list, and please bear in mind that the majority of this work, this is for the 26-27 school year, so majority of this work is occurring summer of 2027. So not this summer, that was approved last budget. This is for next 2027. So we have the Angus Morrison Elementary School. So this is going to be a phase 3 of classroom and corridor refurbishments, including ceiling, lighting, painting of floors, etc. Taking that opportunity next year with the opening of the new school to go in and refresh Angus Morrison, which has taken been holding a lot of students for quite some time now. Barrie North Collegiate, we've got some interior mechanical and roofing refurbishment. We're replacing some roof sections, exhaust fans, the flooring in the main gym, as well as there's some more science classrooms and a workroom apparently being brought up to will be brought up to current build standards. We have the Bradford District High School interior renovations and mechanical upgrades. We've got a refurbishment of the ComTech classroom and replacement of aged mechanical units. Eastview Secondary School, we continue our interior renovations there. We've got 7 classrooms that'll be brought up to current standards, including millwork, flooring, painting, whiteboards, etc. Forest Hill Public School, another school that we held students for quite some time. We've got interior renovations there. There'll be a refurbishment of 4 classrooms, corridors, and ancillary rooms. And this will include ceilings, lighting. This is the retrofitting and putting in LED lighting, millwork, flooring, painting, whiteboards, etc. This is the phase 1 of a multi-year plan. Hewitt's Creek Public School, we've got stormwater management upgrades. We've got renovations to the grassed play area to improve stormwater management, including reinstatement of sodded areas and walking paths to mitigate erosion. That field behind Hewitt's has always had its challenges. Honorable Earl Rowe Public School, we've got a roofing replacement. So we've got 4 roofing sections that need to be redone, as well as some exhaust fans that need to be replaced. Huron Park Public School, we've got a washroom refurbishment there, so a complete refurbishment of the student group washrooms, and this will include ceilings, lighting, plumbing fixtures, etc. Innisdale Secondary School, we continue our interior renovations there. In 2027, we'll be looking at the library, some corridors, and 2 classrooms. Again, updating to ceiling, lighting, millwork, flooring, etc. Innisfil Central Public School, we've got the interior renovations and lighting upgrades. So we're going to have 7 classrooms with corridors and staff room. Again, lighting, millwork, painting. Nottawasaga and Creemore Public School, we're going to have some mechanical upgrades and roofing replacement. There's 4 mechanical rooftop units that have reached the end of their life, 2 boilers, the BAS main system, as well as hot water heaters, and 4 roofing sections. Rama Central Public School, we have mechanical upgrades and roofing replacements, 2 mechanical units, as well as the BAS upgrades, exhaust fans, and roofing sections. Steel Street, this is going to be phase 1 of a multi-year project where we're going to be addressing interior renovations, mechanical upgrades, and roofing replacement. So there's 3 roofing sections and exhaust fans needing some attention, as well as a deteriorating rainwater drainage system. Twin Lakes Secondary School, we continue our interior renovations and site upgrades there. This project will have the refurbishment of the ComTech classroom, as well as asphalt laneways, parking, concrete curbs, and sidewalks across the front of the school. Upton Grove Public School, we've got site and stormwater management upgrades, so we'll be reinstatement of grassed swales to address ponding, replace deteriorated asphalt at the rear of the school, and install a proper portable pad for the portables that are on site. Worsley Elementary School, we have some site upgrades. We're going to address some minor stormwater management issues, as well as replacement and expansion of deteriorated play areas. And then we always put some placeholders in here and we label them as various schools. So we've got door and window replacements, which, as I'm sure you can appreciate, across our schools, we have windows and doors that'll have to be replaced. And we do this based on the VFA ministry reports that are produced. We've also every year we set aside funds for special education projects. So working with our special education department, Superintendent Jacobs, and the principals of special education, they've always got a list of capital renovations that they would like to see done. And lastly, we've got the various schools. We've got a contingency for emergency projects that might crop up through our D&C or maintenance group. So that's our capital expenditures. The next schedule is our accumulated surplus, or our projected accumulated surplus. To refresh your memory from a financial statement presentation last fall, the category of unappropriated has no set purpose or direction and can only be accessed through board motion. The internally appropriated, these funds have a set purpose and are being held to be spent on that purpose in a future period. Oftentimes these have been, or all the time, they've been set aside as we have a project that goes between multiple years. So we carry over the funds so that we can continue and complete in the following year. And then lastly, we have the deferred revenue schedule. And these are funds that are received from the ministry for a specific purpose and will be recognized when utilized. Examples of this, special education, envelope funding that can only be used for special education. We're the banker board for the internal audit team, so funds we receive for them have to be kept segregated and only spent on the internal audit team. We have the responsive education programs or the supplementary grants. Again, if we have any of those projects that have 1 foot in each of 2 school years, then we'll have to carry those funds over. And then we have the deferred revenue capital, which again is funds from various sources that are tagged to capital renewal projects. An example of that there is, you'll see a proceeds of disposition line as directed by the ministry. Any funds that we receive from the sale of property or land gets set aside and is to be used for renewal purposes. And with that, I will take any questions.
Thank you very much for that presentation and information. Questions from trustees? Trustee Strawn.
Thank you. I'm always learning something new every time you give us a presentation. You just mentioned the internal audit committee, and I didn't realize like they have separate funding that comes from somewhere else and we manage it, or can you explain that?
Superintendent Van Ispen.
Thank you, and through the chair to Trustee Strawn. So the regional internal audit team, the RIOT team, so when they were established many years ago, they support or they service a number of schools in the area, and so we see this with ministry initiatives all the time, where when it is servicing multiple boards, they'll designate one of the school boards as the banker board. So they will flow the funding to, in this case here, for the regional internal audit team, they flow the funds to our school board. We look after payroll of that team, support if they need it, IT support, and whatnot. And so we hold the funds, and as you can see here, we set it aside, and so then any of their expenditures, again, payroll, IT, travel, and whatnot, will be applied against these funds.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions? Trustee Rafiq and then Trustee Armstrong.
Thank you, and through the chair, I just wondered if you could speak to the unappropriated surplus a little bit. I recently had a few people kind of throw this number at me that we have so much money in surplus and we have so much money set aside and we could be utilizing that money. I have a calculator and I can do math. Superintendent Fennell's not here, but could you speak to the percent that is that we're holding aside, what we hold that aside for, the reasoning the kind of that goes with all of that? I understand $18 million is a lot of money, but we also have a very large budget. And I know when I work with my much smaller budget at home, there's a certain percent that I have to make sure I have in savings for emergencies. And so could you just speak to that at this level and what that looks like?
Superintendent Van Ispen, please.
Thank you, and through the chair to Trustee Rafiq. So the unappropriated surplus, as I indicated, it's accessed through board motion. It can be used for anything, again, as long as it's approved by the school board. But it's also been referenced as our rainy day fund, if you will. The ministry looks at school boards. A healthy school board has a 2 to 2.5% of their operating budget set aside or accumulated in the operating accumulated surplus, which we are in that range. We have accessed these funds. Most recently last year was with regards to the ice storm. We had excessive costs that were outside of our regular operating budget, and so I came to this board at that time to request access for some funds to cover those expenditures, which was approved and then utilized accordingly. In the past, we've also accessed these funds for there was, I'm trying to think how long ago it was. I think it was 10 years ago. We had a board motion where during the budget process, they wanted some funding for music programs. And so that was accessed. A small piece was accessed and set aside there and used over multiple years for that initiative. So again, it is at the board's discretion as to what these funds are used for. We are currently sitting in a good spot based on ministry metrics. So if we have any operating surpluses, it'll go towards here. If we end up, unfortunately, in a deficit in a current year, it'll feed off these funds as well.
Follow-up?
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. And maybe not as much of a question, more of a comment, but I do believe recently that we saw school boards that wanted to use all of their surplus and not have a school board. We saw them taken over. So I think it's very prudent that we have the surplus. And like I said, I understand that for the public, it can look like a lot of money that we just have sitting there, but we do have a very large budget. And so I think it's very important that we have that money there for lots of different things that we could be faced with. So thank you for that explanation.
Any further questions or comments? Trustee Armstrong.
Thank you, through you to Superintendent. It's been sort of on the tail of that. It's, there's the case scenario of our snow removal costs this year, or plowing costs. I cannot imagine what that amount ended up being for this school year, even more than last year. So that is where some of that contingency probably will be used, I would think. But my question had to do with school renewal and school condition improvement. 21 million seems like a lot of money. It's very generous, but for the number of facilities in this board and the number of schools we have, built from the mid-70s and earlier, like are 50 years old now. I don't know about you, but I've been in various elementary schools, not just in my area, but I'm like kind of shocked to see what's in those hallways sometimes and what's in those bathrooms, like how old the equipment is, or whatever the fixtures are, and I just wonder, with the board being with having a lot of old schools, is there any way of? I know this is the yearly budget, but and I'm sure school councils would always be happy to know this, but it's like, yeah, you're on the list. Within a couple years, we're going to do something. but I'm just very concerned about some of the schools that aren't on this list. They're very old and, pretty, having like, it looks like the sink in the hallway that looks like it should be in a closet for the housekeeping, but that's where they get water to fill their bottles. Like those sort of things that are just so old, and yet, the renewal has to wait. I know there's a finite amount, but I'm just saying, I think those schools that are built in the mid-70s and prior, I think those school councils would be very happy to know, okay, within 5 years, something's, you will be on that list for some sort of renewal. And I know that's not part of the budget. I understand that, but I just feel like it looks great on paper, 21 million, but it's, what is that? Is that even 10% of our schools are affected? from this renewal budget.
Superintendent Van Nispen, please.
Thank you, and through the chair to Trustee Armstrong. So yes, 21 million. This funding hasn't increased significantly in quite some time. We do maintain a 5-year rolling list of projects that are on our radar that comes together from a multitude of sources. So we do have the VFA program that is ministry initiated, ministry run. And what that has is a third-party review of all of our facilities on a 5-year cycle. So all of our schools are on a 5-year cycle where they'll come back every 5 years and review it. And it goes through all components of the school. The individuals that come in, the company that comes in and does the review, has our staff with them, our maintenance staff, our design and construction staff, going through the building, pointing out concerns and things that we see, because you can't just go through a building and go, yes, this boiler is 20 years old, and based on that, it is fine, whereas our maintenance crew are saying, yeah, it's only 20 years old, but the model unfortunately has issues, and so we are constantly repairing this boiler. We're spending more on maintenance on this boiler than the one that's 30 years old in the next school. So there's that review going on. We then obviously have the knowledge of our maintenance staff and our design and construction staff that have been through, in particular the maintenance and operations staff. They're in our buildings every single day. They know where those fixes are needed, be it small, be it large. And then our design and construction team, they're great. They've been through all of our facilities as well. So they've got their list of projects that they'd like to get to. One of the things that we have been pushing the last number of years is getting in and doing some of those smaller pieces, like painting the front entranceway, or painting refreshing paint in the hallway, and getting the LED lights, getting those changed over. In some cases, we don't have to go in and actually replace the ballasts. It's just a matter of replacing the light bulbs. So we're doing things like that to brighten up the space, try to make it as inviting as possible for our students and staff every day. So is there always going to be a laundry list of things to do? Absolutely. If we received more funding, could we get more done? Absolutely. But I believe that we are making a difference in making our schools inviting for staff and students, as well as if you look back at our statistics on the ministry's assessment of our facilities, we have moved much out of that critical category, and we've been making progress on getting our into the not prohibitive to repair category.
Okay, thank you. Any further comments? Okay, I don't see any, so thank you very much for that update. That would take us to the next item and under items for information, which is BSC I-1B, annual review of policy 3140, health and safety, and that is Superintendent Van Nispen, please.
Thank you, and through the chair to the table. As I indicated earlier, this will be the second of 3 policies being brought forward. So as per the Occupational Health and Safety Act, Section 25(2)J, which states an employer must review at least annually a written occupational health and safety policy. This policy was reviewed by our Joint Health and Safety Committee with no recommended content changes being brought forward.
Thank you for that. Any questions from trustees? Okay. Trustee Rafiq, please.
Thank you. I don't have a question. I just wanted to note no revisions from the process that you've already explained to us. No requested revisions. So not a question, just a comment that's great to see. Thank you.
Okay, Trustee Rummet, you have a question or comment with respect to this?
Yeah, maybe I'm just kind of on the back of Trustee Rafiq there. Just a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, through the chair, I'm just reading the policy as well. So there were no changes. So nothing around how health and safety things are reported, if things are being missed, no changes at all with any of those pieces of the policy. Excuse me.
Superintendent Van Nispen, please.
Through the chair, Trustee Grummett, not with relation to this policy.
Okay, thank you very much. That takes us to the next item, which is BSCIC 1C procurement practices. Superintendent Van Nispen, please.
Thank you, and through the chair to the table. At the February 25th, 2026 regular board meeting, trustees approved motion BP 2026-02-2508, requesting that staff provide a report showing and outlining the changes made to purchasing regarding the Buy Canadian motion of 2025. What steps have been taken to affect these changes and increases in Buy Canadian. As I indicated in March of 2025 when the board brought forward the Buy Canada motion, Buy Canada, Buy Ontario has been a focus for some time. The SCDSB follows provincial rules that require fair and open competition through the Broader Public Sector BPS Procurement Directive, which was initially introduced in 2011 and updated in 2024, and B, the Building Ontario Business Initiative, BOBBY, gotta love these acronyms, introduced in 2024. Within those rules, preference is given to Ontario suppliers first, then Canadian suppliers. To date, this school year, the school board has processed 50,000 purchasing transactions, with less than 30 being directed from U.S. vendors. The SCDSB utilizes vendor of record lists from Supply Ontario and the Ontario Education Collaborative Marketplace, or OECM, to ensure compliance and cost-effective purchasing. Staff have been provided direction, training where required, and compliance reviews are taking place. Board purchasing cards cannot be used for international transactions. Staff must use the board's Amazon account, which direct users to Canadian and Ontario vendors. Purchasing activities of varying focus have been reported to the province for years. Currently, all major procurement activities are reported to the Ministry of Education and Supply Ontario. This report towards the end also presents operational challenges that have arisen. And again, this week, further updates were announced by the province. On April 13th, the Buy Ontario Procurement Directive comes into effect. The directive combines BOBBY and the procurement restriction policy and adds direction on fleet vehicle purchases and capital infrastructure purchases. And I was just on a webinar this morning around this. Additional requirements from this directive are going to include the requirement to purchase or lease made in Ontario vehicles where possible. And if you can't buy from that list, then there is a level 2 that you will be directed to purchase from a list of automotive companies that do assembly in Canada. Not necessarily the vehicle that you're looking to purchase, but companies that do have assembly plants in Canada. As well, we've got a requirement to obtain a domestic supply chain plan from bidders on capital infrastructure projects, so on the tenders, for example, the schools that we built, and to include a scoring advantage for plans that have higher Ontario content. So they're moving our tender practice to more of an RFP process that will not necessarily go based on the lowest price, but will have a scoring matrix that takes into account product and materials that are purchased in Ontario. Our staff continue communication with Supply Ontario on the impact of these changes and reporting requirements that go along with them, and are reviewing internal processes to ensure compliance. And with that, I'll take any questions.
Thank you very much for that update. Any questions or comments from trustees around the table? Yes, go ahead.
Through the chair to Superintendent Van Nispen. Now, in the report that you provided, it kind of you kind of stated that the definition of an Ontario or Canadian suppliers kind of varies among agencies. And given this, I know you also mentioned about the Amazon business platforms that the organization often utilizes. So how are you able to verify that the Amazon business supplier that you're contacting or you're using isn't just like a third-party seller that's basically utilizing these foreign goods and a distributor of this good.
Superintendent Van Nispen, please.
Thank you. Through the chair to Trustee Kim. So a couple pieces, a couple elements in there. So when it comes to the definition of a Canadian supplier, Ontario supplier, there is varying definitions depending on where you look. One of the driving ones that has come to light is having 200 or more employees in Canada. So you may not necessarily have your manufacturing facility in Canada. You have your Canadian distribution center that has 200 or more employees in it, and you would be deemed a Canadian supplier. And so looking at those type of companies, and actually with these Buy Ontario, Buy Canadian directives that have come out, we're actually seeing companies that didn't have that presence in Canada are now actually opening offices and employing staff to meet that Canadian content requirement. When it comes to Amazon Business, what that platform allows us to do is actually select Ontario, select Canada, so that when any staff member goes in there and does a search for a product, it is those suppliers that come up first in that search. So if there isn't a Canadian or Ontario supplier, then yes, there will be a foreign supplier that will come up on the list. But if there is a Canadian or Ontario supplier that is providing that product, they will be first to come up on the screen.
Thank you for that. Very good question, so thank you. Are there any questions or comments? Okay, I don't see any, so thank you for that. That takes us to item BSCI 1D, contract awards within approved budget, and that is Superintendent Van Nispen.
Thank you. Through the chair to the table. So we've got 3 contracts awarded on this report. First one is the Aurelia Elementary School. Construction is slated to begin in the coming weeks. There's a bit of mud and water there right now. The Nantyre Shores Secondary, the main office and guidance alteration. Excuse me, although this is not part of the addition project, the capital priority project that is currently under construction at the school, this project is required and it will reconfigure the shared space of the current office and guidance to better support the larger student population that the school is seeing and will be seeing. And then lastly, we've got the Stainer Collegiate roof replacement. And if anybody knows the roof at Stainer, it is sections B and D that will be replaced this summer.
Thank you very much for that. I can do my little happy dance to see the equipment in Aurelia because it's been a long time coming. So people in the community will be very, very happy because I still am getting messages wanting to know when construction will begin. So thank you for that one. Any questions? Comments with respect to this for Superintendent Van Nispen? Okay, thank you for that update. It takes us to the last item under information. It's BSCI-1E, Annual Review of Policy 3031, Workplace Harassment. And we have a change of seats with Superintendent McMeekin tonight.
Thank you, and through Chair Lloyd to the table. Before you this evening is a report for information, is the outcome of the annual review of Policy 3031 on workplace harassment. The Joint Health and Safety Committee has completed the review of Policy 3031 and determined that no revisions are required at this time. With that, I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you for that. Any questions from the table? Trustee Rafiq.
Thank you, and through the chair. Superintendent McMeekin, does this policy go through a similar process that the ones that Superintendent Van Nispen brought to us? I know he mentioned that there were several of them, but I would just like to double check with you.
Thank you, and through the chair to Trustee Rafiq, it's the exact same process. This is the third of the 3 policies. Human Resources is involved in the investigations of these.
Follow up.
Thank you very much. So just one last question. So no revisions. does that mean there was no feedback? Does that mean there was no, I'm sure there was discussion, but I don't know. Can you speak to that piece a little bit? Does that make sense? Does that make sense what I'm asking?
Superintendent McMeekin, please.
Thank you. And through the chair to Trustee Rafiq, the discussions were had with the Joint Health and Safety Committee, and then they provide us a report. So they look at that as part of the policy for their review.
Thank you. Any further questions or comments? Okay, don't see any, so thank you very much. That takes us to correspondence on our agenda, which we have none. Are there any other matters? Okay, I don't see any. I have one question, and that is for Superintendent Van Nispen. It's related to the release of the provincial budget last week. From my view, interpreted, it's somewhat disappointing. No increased investments in special education, which are desperately needed. And I'm just wondering if you can provide us an overview of that, I know you don't have the technical papers yet, but based upon the information you do have, the increase that they announced wasn't even enough to keep up with inflation. So just if you have any thoughts or comments on that, or if I'm premature in asking the question, you can tell me that as well.
And through the chair to the chair, I think anything at this point in time would be speculation on my part. Aside from what they've actually announced, there is that program where the $750 per homeroom teacher, elementary homeroom teacher, is going to be rolled out. I believe they're still working on the details behind what that's going to look like, how that's going to roll out. But beyond that, we have not received any indication with regards to any changes or updates to the funding that we're going to be receiving.
Okay, thank you very much. I just have a follow-up question with respect to the $750 that they're going to allocate to classroom teachers. I was trying to figure out if that is actually new money or if that is money that we anticipate will be coming from our funding that we already have. And it's a little unclear to me as to whether that's actual new money or existing money that they're just going to allocate to that. Any comments on that?
Thank you, and to the chair. I can respond to that question once I receive the technical paper.
Thank you. Yes, Trustee Rafiq, please.
Thank you very much. Just and through the chair, just in follow up to that is a burning question in my brain as well. And I was just curious if you knew any more than we did too about the money they were talking about for police in schools. So I'm very curious if that is new money or if that is money that is already within our budgets. Do you have any further information for us on that by chance?
Thank you. I see Director Stevens wants to answer that one.
Thank you, and through the chair to Trustee Rafiq. So there were a few things that came out with the release of the budget, the police and schools. There was an autism funding umbrella. There's been no communication at this time to school boards on any of those matters. They have been conducting focus groups on the $750 purchasing card. But that is still in the early stages as well. So there's been no formal communication yet. We expect the technical paper will break all of those things down for us with a little bit more clarity.
Thank you, and through the chair, thank you for that. It's just, it's difficult for when these numbers are put out in the public, the public hears them and they think, oh, this is new money that our teachers are getting, and it's new money for the school board. And to me as a trustee, when I heard it and I'm analyzing things, that's not how I read it at all. Obviously, we don't know that for sure yet, but I thought the same when I read about this money for police in schools. To me, I thought I would much rather see that money to go towards certs and EAs, and maybe that would solve the problem, or not the problem, but would address the issue that they're trying to address there. And so, but again, I'm very curious, is that new money? Because I feel like when it's put out to the public, it's made to look like it's new money, but I don't think it usually is. So I'm very curious to see what that looks like for us. If it's just money that's being allocated, it's money that we are already receiving and now it's being allocated for us. If not, because I'm very curious to see that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay. Are there any notices of motion for the next meeting? I don't see any. I know Trustee Armstrong would like to go into closed session. So at this point in time, I would entertain a motion to go into closed session. Trustee Harrigan, please, and a seconder for that. Trustee Rafiq, thank you. All those in favor? Okay, and we will go into closed session. Thank you, and we are back in open session. There is nothing coming forward from our closed session this evening, so that completes our agenda for our business meeting. So with that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Trustee Harrigan, thank you. Trustee Powell, seconded. All those in favor? And we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.